Now, I basically spent, let me think about this. I spent probably about 2.5 months watching all 8 seasons. I did the lot. Binged watched it because I wanted to get the essence of the series and how characters were interwoven and how they were resolved or not resolved, and things that worked and didn't work in this particular series that was a massive success. The complexity of this particular series is pretty astounding because of the way that they've woven the characters in at season 2 or 3 or 1, and then there's a resolution in season 4 or 5 or 6, etc., etc. And I find that testament to the writers and the producers who did it, because they really thought this one out. And yes, it was only 8 episodes a season approximately. So, but some of these episodes were an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 25 minutes, which is basically a movie. I mean, they were shooting this series like a movie and they would spend, I think, 10, 15, 14 days per episode, and spending at least 10 to 12 million per episode itself. So these were movies that they did, and this series is also interesting because when we get to it, I'm going to talk about some of the characters, how they started young and then they grow up in front of our eyes, literally growing up in front of our eyes, rather than some of us who start when we're in our 30s and 40s, and there's really no difference in those years when you're actually doing a series. There might be a slight difference, but not when you see somebody that starts when they're 12 and they end up being 16. There's a vast difference when they're actually doing that. So I want to get to the first one here, which was a role I actually went up for, which was Ned Stark. Now, Ned Stark, played by Sean Bean, was the character who lost his head to Jamie, in the essence of it. How can I put this? It was surprising to see him die in it if you didn't read the novels. His character runs through the entire series, actually, and so even though he was in about 10 episodes, this character was the seedling that everything else grew off of. All the romances, the trials and tribulations, the betrayals, all that type of stuff came from who Ned Stark was, what happened, and was he the right person to lead? Was he the person you thought he was? There's a lot of surprises as you go through the seasons that get revealed during this. And, Ned was a very down-to-earth guy. And if you look at Game of Thrones, it was a series that started very much in an English way, because they have King's Landing, to me, is London, and the Winterfell, which is where the Starks live, Ned Stark, and his is kind of like Liverpool, Manchester, kind of up north, the Northerners, so that was, and it really kind of, and that's who they are, very basic, down-to-earth people, and that's what he played. He played that very basic, down-to-earth, no nonsense, and he instilled that in some of his kids, and you can see this in the program, that it was something that he did. So let's move on, because I think what I want to move on to next is one of the other key people in this series as well, which is Jaime Lannister. Jaime Lannister, a complex character, really interesting complex character throughout this, because he starts off, you think he's the evil brother, which he kind of is, and he is responsible for everything that then proceeds, in a sense, because of what he does to the young Stark boy at the beginning of the thing, Bran Stark, what he does. And so you see him as this character. He then comes up against Ned Stark and fights him, captures him, and then things happen to get Ned Stark to lose his head. But there is a certain honor in this man, and as you unweave this character throughout the series, he becomes bad, he becomes kind of sympathetic. I wouldn't say good, but sympathetic. and then he falls in love, I think, with Brienne of Tarth, who is we'll get to Brienne in a minute, because Brienne is a force of nature, really. Gwendolyn Christie played her. We'll get to her in a second, but and there's an odd relationship there that gets consummated later on, but his real desires with his sister, and that's where this whole thing really gets very strange, is where, you know, he's madly in love with his sister and would do anything for her and his children, even though his children might not be the best. He goes off to fight the war, he gets captured, and then, you know, but at the very end, the one thing he's always true to is his family, his sister. And so there's a really interesting arc for this character. Now, his sister, Cersei Lannister, which Cersei really, to me, is how can I put this? She's now I've got my phone here because I can't remember all the names, but I know that Lena Headey played this one. But Cersei Lannister, oh wow, what a character that turns out to be. I mean, she goes through. She's just people say consummate evil, but in a sense, she's just there to survive, and she will do anything for herself or anybody else to do that. She creates plots, she backstabs people, she tells people she's going to do something, she lies to them just to get everything. And so, but it's beautifully played by Lena Headey. She does a fantastic job when she gets taken out in, I think it's season 6, not taken out, but around season 6, she gets to do the walk of shame throughout the entire city, which it makes her naked walking through because she has sinned, etc., etc. But you know, even though she repents about it, you know deep down she really doesn't, and she wants to get back at the people that did it, and she does in the most brutal way. Gets rid of all her opponents in the most. I knew it was coming when I first saw it. I was like, no, she can't be doing that. No, please don't do that. And yet she destroyed absolutely all her adversaries in one fell swoop. This woman was a force to be reckoned with. And again, you know, she lasted the entire Game of Thrones. She was on the throne at the end. She finally made the throne, but then lost it at the end. Spoiler alert, by the way. Spoiler alerts on some of these things I'm going to be saying here. But she totally lost it when she, finished the series, and you know she dies at the end. But so the next one I've got to talk about is the catalyst of everything, which is Bran Stark. Now, Bran Stark was played by Isaac Hempstead Wright. This is one of the people that I talked about. He grew from a little boy into, you know, probably 16, 17, 18. He might have been older at that point, but you see the vast difference. And you see the difference in his character. He starts off with this young boy who wants to climb all the time, discovers Cersei and Jaime in the throes of love, let's put it like this. And, you know, obviously Jaime Lannister pushes him out of the tower, and he falls almost to his death, but then becomes a cripple for the rest of his life. And in doing so, he has to now look at something else. Now, the moral of this story is that he lost the use of his legs. He couldn't do anything. And so his character changed in the way that he became an introverted character in a sense, and the quietness that Isaac made him into being an all-seeing being, because he then becomes the three-eyed raven at the end of it, and he becomes the knowledge of the past. He becomes the history of everybody. So it was really interesting to watch his development and the way he played this. But this character, you wouldn't expect this guy to survive. He gets taken across which is the wall, which we'll talk about in a minute, which is the barrier between the Badlands in the north, which is almost like Hadrian's Wall is at the north. And I'm liking the Wildlings, which is the north of the wall, to the Scots. And I'm pretty sure some of this was actually brought out in that respect, because these guys are totally wild. But he survives that, comes back, and then is the knowledge of everything. But he's not the guy that solves it all. He's the guy that says, you know, you are where you are supposed to be. So there's a lot of interesting knowledge that he gives us in the way to be if you lose something. There is no loss. There is a way to restructure it. Okay, so let's get Bran. Bran had a couple of siblings. Sansa Stark. Sansa Stark, played by Sophie Turner. Another one that grows up before our very eyes. Young girl at the beginning, doesn't know anything. She's scared of absolutely everything. But she's crafty. She watches. She waits. She says what is needed to survive. She's almost like Queen Cersei in a sense, or Cersei Lannister, in the need to survive, but she doesn't do anything. The difference is she's not an evil person to do it. She survives and later on becomes a force to be reckoned with later in the series. But you watch her go from this kind of person who doesn't know anything and is scared and will just say so, and she actually goes ahead. She actually has to marry the king, Joffrey, who we'll talk about in a minute, was probably the most hated man on television at one point. And then also had to marry Tyrion Lannister, who is the short one of the family, let's put it like that, and amazing performance. But so she goes through all these different things, and then she gets brought in by Littlefinger, who is Peter Baelish, and all of this gets. But she survives it all. She survives all of them. She's clever. She watches. She learns, and she grows. Very much like the VT of Inverters Institute, she grows into this ruler. She becomes later on. She becomes the ruler in the north, and we'll talk about the end of the series later on. But her character was really interesting. Again, what I liked about this was the complexity of all these characters that were going there. Now, Joffrey, which we just talked about, this poor guy, Jack Gleeson, Joffrey Baratheon, plays the evil, nasty king. He is so nasty, and he got hate mail from this. He couldn't live his life. He actually stopped acting for a while because of this, because of the hate mail he got. He played this character to the T. Brilliant role for him. Fantastic character. I know that those of you who have watched the show hate him, as I did. He was despicable. He was nasty. The things he did to Sansa, the things he did, he told Sansa that if Ned would, her father would plead his innocence, that he would forgive him, and then went, "No, I've changed my mind," cut his head off, and kills her father in front of her, as well as in front of the other daughter, Arya, who we'll get to in a second. But I almost think that the poison that kills him wasn't enough. I would like to have seen him die slowly because it was just not enough. I mean, the things he did, he was just despicable. But guys, please separate the actor from the character, because this actor did an extremely awesome job of this role, but then afterwards people hated him for it as the person. We're not the characters we play. We are just portraying them to give the story an edge. He's an Irish actor, by the way, if you didn't know that. So there's a few Irish actors in this, a couple I'm going to mention here. Unfortunately, I can't mention all the characters because there are so many here. I'm highlighting 20 of them as we speak. So it's a bit difficult to do all of them. But this was probably the most hated character on TV at any particular time. And anyway, so on the other side of the world is Daenerys Targaryen. Now, Daenerys played by Emilia Clarke. Daenerys Targaryen comes as this young girl, and everybody's trying to kill her because she's the only rightful heir to the throne, apart from her brother, who gets killed off pretty early on in the series. I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately, and I don't know the character's name, but because you follow this one, she goes through an interesting arc throughout this thing because she's this innocence. She wants to do good. She wants to help. She frees all the slaves. She gets good advice eventually from her confidants, and she's doing an amazing job. And then, what's really interesting about this character, once she switches over and comes over to, because her world is in the east, and then she comes over to the King's Landing. I would call it the England portion of the story. She backs Jon Snow, who we'll get to in a second, falls in love with him, and yet when her right hand is killed in front of her, she seeks vengeance, and doesn't seek vengeance on the people that did it. She seeks vengeance on the women and children, and becomes the horror that everybody expected her to become for being a Targaryen. A Targaryen, her father was called the Mad King, who killed a whole thousands of people. She does this on the back of a dragon and burns everybody alive and destroys King's Landing absolutely at the end, just so that you guys know it. And we'll get to that one as well at the end of it. And so the interesting thing is, she is in love and she believes she's doing good, and she's not a Hitler, but she is a character that even in that moment of I'm going to decimate them all, but she still thinks she's doing good by doing it. And Jon Snow realizes that something has to change there, which we'll get to in a second. So really interesting character, this one. Next one I want to talk about is Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, played by Aidan Gillen. This character, you could not trust this man with your life. I mean, you thought he was doing good, you thought he was doing this. His allegiance would switch for himself. There's a difference between him and Lord Varys, which we'll get to in a second. That is, Lord Baelish does everything for himself. He'll kill people, he'll betray people, he betrays Ned Stark at the beginning. He does all of that, and yet he survives everything. It's all about his survival, and he gets absolutely everything he wants, but my God, does he do it in a bad way. And in the end, he gets his just desserts. It's a really great scene at the end where he has manipulated Arya Stark into what it looks like her falling out with her sister at the end, and bringing her on trial for treason. And they bring all the lords in, bring everybody in, and he's in the courtroom, and they bring Arya in, and Sansa, who is now the Warden of the North, then says, "This is for the crimes that you've committed, Lord Baelish." And he's like, "What?" And suddenly he becomes on trial instead of Arya, and they bring all the stuff together, and Peter Baelish doesn't last after that trial. Another character that goes, but again, he plays this. He's like a snake. And then he strikes, and he strikes. So really great character to have in this show. Now, I talked about Lord Varys. Lord Varys, again, another Irish actor, Conleth Hill, played this. He was the same type. He's the King of Whisperers. King of Whisperers, in other words, he has spies absolutely everywhere. So did Peter Baelish, but the difference between Peter Baelish and Lord Varys is that Lord Varys really wants it. He has the realm's best interests at heart. He is the guy that will betray somebody or tell something if it is in the interest of the realm. He changes his allegiances. He believes Ned Stark is the right person to be. He goes with Queen Cersei because she is now, or should I say Joffrey. He doesn't believe he's the best for the realm, but he bides his time and makes all the necessary information. Even he tries to kill Daenerys Targaryen by sending spies to her. Eventually, he joins her because he believes she is the one to lead. But then again, toward the end of the series, when it gets to the point when he sees what she's becoming, what she is possibly going to do with her dragons now, he again changes his allegiance and gets betrayed for it, and he loses his life as well. But he does it not for anybody else's gratification, but for the good of the realm. He's a eunuch, basically. He had his balls cut off, right? So he has no other interests, but again, very gentle character, plays all the gentleness like this, similar to Littlefinger, but very different than Littlefinger. Another great character that they had on this series here. I've talked about Arya Stark, Maisie Williams. She's almost the heroine of the entire piece to a degree. She starts again as a young girl, doesn't know anything, sees her father slaughtered, has to survive by joining a band of kids that are being sent to the Wall. The Wall is the northern part of the realm where they guard the Wall from the wildlings, the Scots. And any Scottish here, I'm not being. It's just like Hadrian's Wall. But anyway, so and then she goes and learns this art of killing, and she becomes this lethal killer that. She stays good in her core, but it vacillates between revenge, which she takes to the... She has this sword called the Needle, which is a sword about this long, very thin, pointed, that she uses with effect, and gets revenge on almost every single adversary that has caused her wrong. She has a list that she which is another great portion of this, where she recites this list every night before going to bed, so that she can get revenge on those people. The most she does get revenge on, but not all of them. She eventually makes her way all the way back up north on her own, and is actually the one that saves humanity. Should I tell you the story? I guess you might know it. But anyway, she's the one actually that saves humanity at the end, because of her being so dexterous and being so crafty. She's able to save the world of men. So I'm just going to leave it pretty much at that, but another great story here, and she then sees the desolation that Daenerys causes at the end, and just can't believe it. Even though she's seen everything, what she sees at the end is horrific, and she goes off. I didn't like how they finished the series, to be totally honest, but we'll get into that in a second. The last another person we obviously have to talk about is Tyrion Lannister, played by Peter Dinklage. What a great character for him to play. I mean, this character was you threw everything at him. Everything got thrown at him. He was. How can I put this? He was. Nobody liked him. His sister wanted him dead. His dad wanted him dead. People wanted him dead, and yet he survived. He had truly a good heart, and he was the savior of King's Landing at one point, and then he became the horror, but eventually he goes to Queen Daenerys' side. He gets saved a few times by different people, but he eventually ends up at Queen Daenerys' side, because again, he believes in her, believes in what she stands for, but her corruption then also causes him to not support her. Now, he's not without his failures. He does make mistakes. He makes battle mistakes, etc., which almost costs him his life. But he's always, he's true to his roots. He does kill his father. He does kill his lover. He does betray his sister. So he does a lot of stuff that is not really that great. But what an amazing character he turned out to be, because of this thing. I want to now get on to Bronn, because Bronn is Jerome Flynn. Jerome Flynn is a real basic guy, just kind of basic, just, I'm just doing it like this, and I'm, he's out for himself. Doesn't put any ifs, ands, or buts about it. What are you going to give me? This is the guy that says, yeah, I'll do this for you. What are you going to give me? He helps save Tyrion and supports him. Kind of becomes his friend, likes him, likes even Jaime Lannister at the end, but is always out for his own benefit. Really interesting character, because he really reminds me of this guy, just a guy that everyday guy that just happened to be really good with the sword, because that's what he is. He's a guy that is a good swordsman. When Jaime Lannister loses his hand and cannot fight anymore, because Jaime Lannister is supposed to be the best swordsman in the land virtually, he teaches Jaime how to fight left-handed, and they go off and they also fight at the Day of the Longest Night, which is when the White Walkers, which we'll talk about in a minute, the army of the dead comes to the realms of men, and they have to fight, and they fight side by side almost. But a great character to sort of hang your hat on. Next one, Sandor. the Hound McLean, played by Rory McCann. What a nasty piece of work, and what a great character this was. I actually saw his audition tape that was actually online. You can actually watch it if you look at it online. He has this scar because his brother, the Mountain, actually put his head into a fire when he was young, so he's scarred all down one side of his face. And that's how he is. He's a mean, nasty, will kill anybody, is lethal with a sword, will kill 4 or 5 men at a time. And he teams it up with Arya Stark. He tries to take her up to the north to get the reward for her, but then by the time he gets there, allegiances have changed, and there's a whole... He's going to try and take her back to her brother Robb Stark, but allegiances have changed, and he then takes her and moves somewhere else. But in the process of moving her out to try and get her reward again from her aunt, which is eventually where Peter Baelish comes in, he gets confronted by Brienne of Tarth, and they have a fight, and he loses Arya and doesn't see her again until they get to the Longest Night, where he turns up, and you can see he really cares for this. And that's the great thing about this character. He's nasty, he's mean, but he has a soft side to him, and the soft side is in this soft side, but you see that soft side, and that's what's a really interesting character that he's played in this because of that. You got to watch it because great sword fight between him and Brienne of Tarth. Everybody wanted to see that sword fight, 2 big mountains together, and and he has an amazing fight at the end with his brother, who's turned into this like creature at the end of it, and they both... Well, I'm not going to tell you the end. But anyway, let's move on to Robb Stark. Robb Stark is the son of Eddard Stark, Ned Stark, and he gains the throne. He's a young boy. Nobody thinks he's any good. And he starts winning. All the northern tribes come behind him. He starts winning. He goes against the Lannisters. He's beating them. And it's fantastic. But he makes the mistake. The mistake is he... And his mother, Michelle, played by Michelle Farley, his mother is Ned's wife. She's another great character. They make the mistake, or he makes the mistake, of promising to wed one of the Lord's daughters, and backs out the promise and falls in love with this beautiful girl in his campaign. And as he goes through that whole process, you think this is the hero. This is the guy that everything is going to last on. But it's not. He gets killed, betrayed, and all his men get decimated just as Arya Stark arrives and the Hound arrive to say, "Hi, brother, I'm alive," and he gets killed. As does, and this is one of the most iconic scenes, the Red Wedding. Now, the Red Wedding is where his mother, played by Michelle Farley, dies, and she gets her throat cut as well. I mean, that character, she was the strong mother type. I kind of felt to a degree in my process of it that she was always in tears. And I thought at some point there should have been a hardening of that and a change of that. But she would stand up and do anything for her kids, which is what eventually ends up happening. She does everything, but she gives her life for her son. And, they both die in this, and this is what now changes. This is what Game of Thrones... This particular scene is one of the top 10 scenes in the entire series. Probably the top 5 in the entire series where they get killed. It is a scene where you sit there going, I can't believe this is happening. No, this can't be happening. No. What's happening? No. Because you think he's the hero. You think this is who's... Once he's gone and all the armies are decimated, you realise that the Lannisters... and with Cersei and Jaime, they're all now going to rule, and they've got Prince Joffrey on the throne, and oh my gosh, and then Joffrey, teases Sansa about how his brother's been cut, his throat has been cut, and the father had his head cut off, and blah. This scene was graphic. It was horrifying. You just couldn't believe that it was actually happening, but loved it. It was a great scene. Now, so. What ends up happening now, Jon Snow, played by Kit Harington, who eventually becomes the hero of the series, is the illegitimate son of Ned Stark, or so it seems. He gets sent up to the wall. He becomes the leader of the wall at the north, even though the commander there doesn't like him. He crosses into the wildling areas. He meets the wildlings. He becomes part of them. He comes back, betrays them. He kills a White Walker. The White Walkers we'll get to in a second, because those are the undead who have some magically potent thing by pixies have created this undead king who can raise the dead into living entities that decimate and kill absolutely everybody. He then comes back. He becomes the king of the north. He becomes king of Winterfell, and so he is the goodness. He is again this thing that his brother is. He becomes the king. He falls in love with Daenerys Targaryen. They make love, and then he finds out that he's not the bastard son of Ned Stark. He's actually the rightful heir to the throne of the Game of Thrones, the throne. Can't even say it. And what he does, he's actually Daenerys is actually his aunt, because when you go back in the flashbacks, Ned Stark found his sister having had fallen in love with a Targaryen, married him, and had a child. But if the child they'd known it, they would have killed the child. So Ned raised him as his own illegitimate son. So all of a sudden you're going, what? So now he's forced with the fact of what is he going to do? Does he support her? He realizes she's not the one that, and we might be able to catch a glimpse here where he actually sees the. This is the one I actually have the double on here, where we actually see, that one there. We saw that one there, where you had the death of Daenerys, where he actually kills her. This is where he realizes, and it's painful because you don't know what he's going to do. He walks up. She's like, we're going to be great. We're going to do this. But she's destroyed the entire city. She's killed thousands of people. And he knows that if she stays on the throne, it's just going to carry on. It's just going to multiply. So he puts a dagger through her heart. And it's heartbreaking because, and for that he pays for it. Eventually it becomes a full circle, and he ends up being brought back to the wall at the end of the series. And I kind of went, oh no, I just didn't like that at all. Didn't like the way that Sansa became the Warden of the North. I just felt there was a better way to do it, and there was just some holes I kind of found happened at the end of the series there. But overall, great character, played beautifully by Kit Harington, who's now become pretty big now. Next one, Samwell Tarly, John Bradley. Samwell Tarly. Okay. He again goes through. He's this guy that can't fight, can't do anything, but provides the knowledge at the end. He's the guy that goes to the war. His family is rich, but his father doesn't like him, doesn't want him, throws him out, sends him to the war. He can't fight, but he becomes Jon Snow's best friend, and by doing so, he actually saves. He actually kills a White Walker because he finds dragon glass. Now, dragon glass is, glass that was made by dragon's breath, and it actually kills White Walkers. White Walkers are these undead, or the leaders of the undead, and he goes through a process that he then becomes a maester, and a maester is the guardians of the knowledge. And he finds out he actually heals somebody from a terrible disease, and I can't get to his character unfortunately tonight, but he then provides the knowledge of where the dragon glass actually is, as a mountain of it, that then Jon Snow has to go and ask Daenerys when she comes to the Isle of Men, and it comes from the east of the Isle of Men. She's in the Dragonstone Castle, and there's a whole bunch of dragon glass in that, where he has to persuade her to allow him to mine it, and they then arm all the living against the dead for this particular massive battle, this epic battle that they have at the end of this, at the very end. Now, Samwell, and the great thing about this, they become friends, and he's there to the end. A character you wouldn't presume, but he's very, very, calm, loving, and is the knowledge of it on actually saves mankind as well, in his own way. Everything's weaved together. Brienne of Tarth, which I've mentioned before, Gwendolyn Christie. I kept looking at sometimes going, is she that tall? And she was. She's a tall lady, and again, mixture of emotions. she's a virgin throughout the entire thing until Jaime Lannister actually and her consummate that toward the end of the series. Just a spoiler alert, just thought you mentioned that. But great character to have, a woman, strong woman character who is fiercely loyal to the people that she says she's going to pledge her honor to. She changes along, but she eventually becomes Sansa Stark's. She promises Sansa's mother that she will guard her 2 children with her life. And she tries to do that, although both of them don't really want to know about it until later on in the series, when at the end Sansa she becomes Sansa's bodyguard and confidant, and she fights at the Battle of the Longest Night alongside Jaime Lannister. They almost lose, they almost do it, but again they are fiercely loyal, and she is fiercely loyal to the crown at the end, and you know she lasts all the way through the series. Really interesting because you look at her, she's this strong stoic character that again breaks apart because of everything that's happened to her. Nobody really wanted her because she was a tall girl. She was always made fun of. She was always ridiculed, etc. Until she became stronger and then decided that she would, be a guardian, and eventually gets knighted. First female knight. Jaime actually knights her at the very end, before the Night of the Longest Night battle. He actually knights her in a scene that by the fireplace, which is a nice scene. So again, another fantastic character. We've talked about the White Walkers. Okay, so the White Walkers, these things were like, oh my gosh, these things are so bizarre. Now, they had a couple of different White Walkers, a couple of different people actually played them. One was Richard Brack, and the other one was Vladimir Furdo-Furdik. Furdo was his nickname. But so, again, they didn't say a word. Not a word throughout the entire piece. But so menacing. So like just the looks and the makeup and the stuff that they had that was just incredible. It was just something quite spectacular that they created with this, and these guys could actually raise the dead, and they could stop and they were going to take over the world of men. They're basically made out of glass. They were created by these pixies who thousands of years ago, before the whole world was the world that they currently living in was created. These pixies, these magical pixies, created a White Walker by plunging dragon glass into his chest and making him undead, so that they had some type of weapon against men who were killing all the pixies off. And so, but the men eventually beat the White Walkers. But this was hundreds of thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Let's talk a little bit about the best scenes that were there. Actually, no, let's play. No, we've got to talk about now. One more I've got to talk about. Hodor, Christian Nairn. Oh my gosh. This scene that you're watching right here, up here, is a scene that you can't go, no, because his entire time, what they do a flashback of the entire series. All he says is Hodor. And what you realise he's actually saying, because it's like this is done at the Tree of Knowledge, where the original three-eyed raven passes his knowledge to Bran, and then the White Walkers and the dead get past the defences and storm the tree, which is underground, and they're about to kill them all. And Hodor, eventually they show him as a young boy, and they realise, because now Bran can see the past, who Hodor originally was. He was one of Bran's kids' friends that he didn't realise. And he could talk until the point came when this happened, and somehow in the genesis of it, they're saying, hold the door, and all he could say after, Hodor. It was a brilliant, because it took 4 seasons for you to realise this. One of the best scenes in the series. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I can't believe they did that. So, great character. He dies at the end of this. He's held the door. He gets killed by the White Walkers. But immensely strong, loyal to Bran, and another great series. But this was a great scene. Apart from all the other scenes that were taken here, I'm going to run through a few of them right now. We'll just take a look at a couple of these. This is the King's Landing, where Daenerys Targaryen actually destroys the entire thing. The visual effects on this were fantastic. It was a monumental, like, I can't believe she's doing that, where the dragon just decimates streets and streets and thousands of people. This one is The Longest Night. Beautifully shot with all the Unsullied, the guys that have no balls, or all the tribes come together to beat the dead. Fantastic battle, really dark, grisly. You don't think they're going to get out of it, and then at the end, bam, they actually succeed because of one person. And but this battle was. But the only thing I didn't like about this was like half of them sort of survived, and there's a huge army at the end of this. Although it looked like all of them got decimated by the dead in this particular battle. So I'm not exactly sure why we see all these things, all the armies afterwards. This scene is the Viper versus the Mountain. Pedro Pascal versus Halvor Julius Bjornsson. Great fight scene. This was Pedro Pascal. Was the sister. He was avenging his sister's death, who the Mountain did, and in a turn of it, the idea is he's trying to actually fight for Tyrion Lannister's life here. Whoever wins it determines his guilt, Tyrion's guilt or not. You kind of think it's going to go one way, and it ends up going another. The Mountain eventually gouges his eyes out and crushes his skull. Ugh, horrible scene, but amazing. This scene here is the Battle of Blackwater Bay, and this was a pretty gruesome, beautiful visual effect that was done with this thing called wildfire. This stuff that blew everything up. The modelling they had on this. The thing on it was hysterical. So there's a lot of destruction, as you can see, in Game of Thrones. Epic battles that they were able to do, in this. So that is kind of my review of Game of Thrones. It's really kind of a all-encompassing. There's so much in this, and that is why it was successful. Amazing fights in some. The battle sequences were really amazing in it. The characters that they portrayed were extremely well done. They shot in several countries to do this series. They as you can tell here, but they didn't shoot in these countries. But they shot in places like Croatia, Ireland. I don't know where they actually did the White Walkers. But that again was in some very cold place, because you could tell the places they shot in were extremely real, and they spent a lot of money doing it. But that is my review of Game of Thrones. It's definitely worth a watch, but I kind of liked watching it in its entirety, purely and simply because it was easy to follow. Watching it week to week over a series of years, in a sense. When I watched it the first time, first of all, I missed a lot of things. There was a lot of things in this one when I was actually watching it I didn't even remember watching. I didn't even knew about it. I went, oh my gosh, that's what happened to them. Because toward the end of it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of, I know where it's going. I kind of felt like the end after the White Walkers were defeated, that the whole series kind of started taking a bit of a downhill. I mean, you had to finish it some way, but I just didn't like the way they did it, where everybody went off and one person went over here, one person went over there, to their own lives. I could see somebody coming back with a sequel to it, or something that would maybe a limited few parts series perhaps, because then you would see them grown up and having, grown to become whoever they've become. But that might even spoil it. Although I kind of would like to see where Sansa is and where Jon Snow ended up and Arya Stark have ended up now. But anyway, so really good show. It was well produced, well directed. Visual effects were stunning. And I think really one of the iconic series of history, of film history, because of what it looks like. There's a lot of shows now that try and do the same thing. They've tried doing it with the Lord of the Rings, The visual effects are astounding. I just don't like it as much as this one. This one to me is much more grounded in reality, and I kind of felt more about it. I feel for the characters in this one, what they go through, partly because the actors did a great job doing it, partly because of the way that they actually made us go through a roller coaster and divulging secrets and putting pieces of information in there that you might have missed the first time round, and that then paid off later on. So really interesting show. So anyway, we've got about 5 minutes left. Just wanted to go through just some last minute stuff. We do have a number of events coming up. We are constantly... I want you guys also to ask me questions. Nobody asked me questions on this one. During the lives, what I'm going to do is turn around and look at it from the point of view of putting out information beforehand, so you might be able to ask me something about it. So I'm going to tell you what the topic of that next live is going to be a couple of weeks ahead of time, so either you get a chance to either watch it or find information out about it, so you can actually ask me questions if you need to ask me those questions about whatever topic we're actually working with. As I said, we have, and I said this at the beginning of the year, we have a lot of things we've been working on. The frustrating part for us a lot of the time is being able to get events out soon enough so that everybody finds it. Now, one problem we have currently is my Facebook page is no longer in existence. I got hacked, totally lost the page. I don't know where it is. I had a call with Facebook business the other day. They didn't call me back. I don't know what's going to happen to the page. Right now, we only have the Sword Experience page and the Adrian Paul Instagram and the Adrian Paul and the Sword Experience Instagram feeds available. Those 200,000 people I had on Adrian Paul Official have now gone into the ether. So hopefully try and keep up with and please post it on your sites that it doesn't exist anymore, purely and simply because more people know about it, and redirect them where they can get information currently, because I might have to create a new page. I hate Facebook because of the way that you cannot get back into them. You cannot get anybody live on the phone, and they keep running you around, even though I've been doing this for a year because I lost one of my sites that controlled my Adrian Paul official site, and then I created another site, and then we made a mistake of talking to somebody that I had. Remember one thing, if I'm to give you one thing before you leave, is go with your gut instincts, because I got angry with this person on the phone because he was just there was something wrong about it, and I should have gone with those instincts, because we said we would call them back, which at that point I should have said, let me do a little bit more research, which I didn't do. And the next time when we got on the line with them, they found that somehow they found the login to our admin, and they deleted all our admins to the Adrian Paul official and got control of the site. So be aware of people. There's a lot of people going out there, as well as people that say, oh, go to this hacker, etc. And I put it on my site. If they say go and check this hacker out, check the page of the person who gives you that information. If it's been created within the past month or two, they're not legitimate. So a few things for you to remember and to look at. So hopefully I get to see you next time. I'll get to see one of the events we have this weekend coming up. We've got Bowling Green, which is very low numbers, surprisingly, but we'll still have a great time. And we've got all our events coming in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We've got we're going to be coming to Phoenix very shortly. We're going to be putting that one out. I don't know if that's out yet or not. We are going to be going to the beauty of that is called L'Île-sur-la-Sorgue. It's actually a town surrounded by water. We're going to all these different amazing places, as you can see. So hopefully you'll join me there or at one of our events or online, because we have all our Academy online plus the new VVVI Institute, which will be launched in the next 2 months in its entirety. So you will be able to access the program online, as well as become part of a dojo that will have an in-person teaching session, all based in real martial arts, real sword work, and hopefully I'll see you at one of those events. Until then, I'm Adrian Paul. Have a fabulous month, and I'll see you soon. 18 people, was that?